Tracey Minutolo is an expert at setting up side gigs. Let's say you work 9 to 5, but you want to do something on the side, you want to make some extra money. She is the expert in this area. We'll discuss in today's episode how to determine what you're most skilled at. Are your skills valuable in the marketplace? And what's the secret to determining where to find your customers and what they want?
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. Tracey Minutolo is a side hustle coach, helping motivated action takers to design, launch, and grow profitable side businesses that they're passionate about. When she's not doing that, she's actually working her 9 to 5 job and spending time in the Facebook group that she created, Side Hustlers Haven Community. If you've ever thought about creating a side business, these episodes are going to be for you. Stay tuned. Tracey, thank you so much for joining us today. I know the audience is going to get so much out of this, and I absolutely love the space that you're in with the side hustle. So tell the audience a little bit more about how you started and how you got on this journey.
Yeah, thank you, Thor. I really appreciate being on the show. So I have been doing, I guess, side gigs or side jobs or whatever. There's so many different terms for it now. But for most of my adult life, so I graduated college and immediately got a full-time job, but then I realized I kind of wanted an additional source of income coming in because I knew I had student loans to pay off. So I went and got a job at a bookstore. So I did that at night and I worked, during the day, a traditional like 9 to 5 type job. So there's always been something like that in the background for me. Like I said, since college, so quite a while. But it was only more recently that I decided, and this is going back maybe 3 years or so now, that I wanted to do something a little bit more, I guess, sustainable or a little bit more within my control. So looking at starting a side business, like something that I actually owned myself versus a side job or a one-off side gig or something like that. So I embarked on this little journey trying to, I guess, discover or uncover the skill sets that I had that I could leverage into a side business. And I'm trained as a microbiologist. So my day job is actually as a lab supervisor for a diagnostics company. So at the time, I was really having a hard time, I guess, trying to determine which skill set I had that I could leverage into a side gig because I wasn't, I don't know. I guess I just wasn't in tune with some of the other skills that I had that were actually things that people would pay for. And this process took me quite a while. I actually, read tons of blog posts, listened to a lot of podcasts, even took a couple of courses on this to try to come up with a side biz idea. And in the end, what it was actually, and I don't know why it took me so long to realize this, but it was actually a skill set that I had developed as a volunteer that I turned into a side business. So I had been working with some local nonprofits here in San Diego. One was a group that a friend of mine actually founded. It's called Project Love Out Loud, and they actually go into a residential facility for homeless teens, and they would go in every week and put on workshops. And so I volunteered with them with those workshops, but I also took on their social media for a while and played around in their website and played with WordPress, got experienced a little bit there and jumped in. And then we had another group of friends. We started an annual fundraising event, which we ended up in the 6 years that this event was in running. We raised over $40,000 for local teens here for services for homeless teens in San Diego.
Wow.
But what ended up happening is just, somebody needed to promote this stuff. And so, none of the friends in that group wanted to deal with promotion or social media or anything of the sort, anything online. They just kind of were like, yeah, it just didn't interest them. So I picked it up and I started to read up more on, how I could be more effective in terms of promoting our event and getting the word out there. And I found that I really, really loved it. So when it came time again for this side business idea, finally, after all this kind of going around and around trying to mine myself for ideas, it dawned on me, why don't I do something with social media? And at the time, I started listening to a lot of entrepreneurial podcasts. I found Entrepreneur on Fire, Smart Passive Income, Side Hustle Show with Nick Loper. So I had really started to dig in with some of those shows. Another show called Happen to Your Career with Scott Barlow. And so I heard about this thing called a virtual assistant. And this was a new thing for me. So I was just like, wow, this is great. I did a lot of research. I figured out that virtual assistants do pretty much everything. I mean, they run the gamut from like setting appointments and, filtering emails to running social media and just a ton of behind the scenes work. So I figured, let me reach out to some of these podcasters that I'm following. Let me just put the feelers out there and see what I can find out. And I was really just asking sort of like what they would be hiring a virtual assistant for. What sorts of tasks would they be looking to hire out? And I was trying to match up my skill sets against what was in demand. And it was awesome. I sent out a handful of emails to different podcasters I was following, and I got some responses back that were just amazing. And 2 of those turned into clients. And I was off and running with my first business at that point.
That's amazing. You know what I love here is first you sat down and said, okay, what am I really good at? And then you did the research. You went out and you asked questions. What is the marketplace looking for? And I work with so many entrepreneurs that find something that they absolutely love, and then they go out and they say, okay, here it is, and they never did the research. They never figured out what people wanted first. So kudos on that. You know what I love also here is the skills that you needed that you couldn't find them at first. You said, I was looking at figuring out, okay, what am I really good at? And so often the things we're really, really good at, we don't recognize in ourselves, because it just comes naturally to us. But you ask someone, hey, what aren't you good at? And they're like, okay, here's the list of things. So It's always great to ask other people that really know you and say, hey, what am I really good at?
Right. And it's also really valuable to consider that even though you haven't been paid for something before, it doesn't mean that it's not a valuable skill in the marketplace. So for me, I was really just looking at like, well, I'm a microbiologist. I guess I can maybe be a consultant, or maybe, I don't know, I can write some ebook on quality control microbiology. These were the crazy ideas that were going through my head. But these were that was my paid, what I was trained in, what I'd been paid for previously, and the social media stuff and the fundraising things that I was involved in. It was all just for the pure love of it and the passion. And I actually, everything I know about social media is because I just dug in and really, I guess, head first and studied up on it, because it was something that was fun for me, but everybody else kind of had no interest or thought it was laborious or just terrible. So it ended up benefiting me quite a bit. So I always encourage my clients as well to look at things like that. Don't just look at what maybe your career path or what your jobs have been.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody over the weekend, and they were talking about wanting to create some sort of a side gig. And they're like, I just don't know what I'm good at. I said, well, what do you like doing? She goes, I love to travel. I'm like, great, you're Romanian. Why don't you form a group where you take people to Romania and be a tour guide? She's like, wow, I never even thought about that. I was like, well, I can't do it. I don't speak Romanian. So, you've got a skill set here. You like to travel. Create a business around it.
Yeah, and I've actually heard, I think maybe this was through the Side Hustle Show. But yeah, even here in the States, locally, if you are, say, an expert on your city, if you like to go around and go sightseeing and you want to take people around, that's a thing now. You can go to different cities and have somebody show you around. I'm sure that this exists in San Diego. I haven't looked at anything yet, but maybe I'll create this. But craft beer tours, maybe a walking tour of San Diego where we hit all of the great spots, because everything here is very, well, at least in the city proper, everything is walking distance. So you really could do something like that.
That's a great idea. And it's so important. When you go to a new city, it's you don't even know where to go to have dinner. I was in Boca last week, and I wanted to go out to a restaurant, and I went to the concierge at the hotel. I'm like, where's a great restaurant? I want some seafood. She's like, you can go here. It's like really nice, upscale. But I said, no, I just want something like, just down and dirty like the locals. And then she's like, gives me this other one. I'm like, no, take off your concierge hat. When you and your girlfriends go out and you want a fun time and great seafood, where to go? She goes, oh, I know. And it's like blah, 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 blah. That's the kind of place I was looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's great with craft beer. I mean, there's so many people that are into that. And to have a tour guide to go and do that would be very cool.
Yeah, I mean, we are I know actually out in New Jersey, where I'm from originally, it's starting to really take off over there as well. But San Diego is kind of like the epicenter, at least it has been. And I think it will be for a little while longer for craft beer.
No question. It's gonna continue for some time. Tell me about when you're working with clients and you're helping someone start one of these side gigs. And by the way, I love what you're doing. I get questions all the time from entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs that say, hey, I want to quit my job. I want to start this business. Whoa. Don't quit your job yet. Let's think, what do you want? And this is not my main clientele. I'm not working with startups, but a lot of people come to me for advice on this. I'm like, look, don't quit your job. Let's get this new thing working. Let's get some traction, because what you don't understand is unless you're willing to work twice the hours for maybe half the pay, if you're lucky, sometimes no pay. That's what new startups look like. Keep your gig. Get something going on the side. So I love what you're doing here. So what advice are you giving these people?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the reality of it, right? So I think there's a lot of, there's just a lot of buzz out there. There's been for a while, but I'm pretty active in Facebook groups, and particularly around the entrepreneurial ones, online entrepreneurial groups. And there's just a lot of, just it seems like the loudest voices are the ones that are telling you to quit your 9-to-5. I know the other voices are there as well, the side hustling folks, but it just seems like the quit the 9-to-5 message just seems to cut through above everything else sometimes. And I think that can be, it's inspiring on one level, because you think about, a 9-to-5 employee, somebody who has always just worked for somebody else. I think it's a powerful message, and it's maybe a huge mindset shift for somebody. And I went through this myself to realize, wait a minute, I don't have to be just an employee. I can do something that's mine. Like, I actually can take a skill set that I have and a desire to create and maybe change something and impact something in the world and turn that into a business. Like, that is no small thing, to make that leap of, I guess, realization for yourself that that's possible. However, and I love that. And I get a lot of inspiration from a lot of the, jump ship and quit the 9-to-5 type messaging. I really do. But at the same time, and maybe this is just me, I don't think it is, but I think I'm a very cautious person myself. And I moved out from the East Coast to the West Coast, and I had a job lined up already. And I'm the kind of person that likes to have some measure of security. So there are people, I think, if you've got a higher tolerance for risk, okay, maybe maybe it could work for you to quit and just go off and running with a business. But I think for most people, the best approach is really to, first of all, do a lot of legwork and a lot of research and test the waters up front and make sure that you are really interested and really into whatever it is you decide to start, whatever business you decide to start, before you commit 100% to it and make that leap from a full-time job, because, of things like health insurance and a steady paycheck and structure. Honestly, a 9-to-5 job, at least I find it gives me a lot of structure to my week. So I have this, job that I need to show up at every day, but I also want to get things done for my side business. So it forces me to be really meticulous with my time. So those are the types of things that I would talk to clients about, is really just to be honest as far as what your goals are, what your risk tolerance is, but also just to make sure that whatever side business you choose, it's a good match for you and what you want, who you are, where you want to go, and what your goals are. Because and this is a fact as well, is like folks that end up in full-time jobs that they're unhappy with, and maybe they go from job to job to job, and they think, oh, this job is crap because of the boss or because of whatever it is. I don't know. I think those are the same folks that could very easily end up in a terrible side hustle.
Well,
That could
yeah,
end up
yeah.
feeling like a job that sucks. You know what I mean? You have to do that work. You have to understand what works for you, what you want, and you have to make sure that the side hustle you choose is something that's actually going to support your goals monetarily, lifestyle-wise, and in other ways.
Yeah, absolutely. If you keep going from job to job to job and you keep hating all the jobs and it's always the boss, there is one common denominator. It's you. And it just might be you, not the boss or the job.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because what I find also is that everyone goes into business. They love their job. They love their product. They love their service. They love whatever it is, and it's the best. And you really need to find out whether the market is as jazzed about what you're doing as you are. And is the market willing to pay the dollars that are necessary, and do they value it as much as you do? I mean, these are things that you need to find out, and sometimes it's a wake-up call. Maybe the product or the service is not as good as what you think it is. And even if you have an amazing product, amazing service, you also have to get out there and sell it. Just because you make it doesn't mean that they're going to come.
Yeah, so true.
What do you advise your clients on that piece, on the marketing and the sales piece? Because so often the entrepreneurs just love their, they're just great at one thing. They're the artist, but they don't know how to sell it. How do you help them out with that?
So I primarily work with folks who are starting service-based businesses. I don't really do much at all with products or anything like that. But so we're talking about freelancers for the most part. And I've also helped a few other coaches get their start. Well, the first thing is really that you need to have conversations with people. I think, especially in this day and age where you can, whip up something online, you could get a website going, you could do this and that. It's really easy to kind of get caught up in the online world and forget that you kind of really need to build relationships and connect with people and not to use a very cliched phrase here, but provide value. I mean, it does come back to that. And so I think when it comes to seeing what the reality in the marketplace is, whether or not the market wants and will pay for your idea, it just comes down to customer interviews, customer conversations. Like, you really need to talk to people that are in this target market that you've decided you want to serve. Have conversations with them, get to know them. Don't try to sell them something right off the bat. Like, that's, might be tempting to sit there and be like, well, I provide this, and this, and what do you think of this price point? What do you think of that? No, like, you really just need to listen. You need to get on the, like Skype or on the phone, or if you can in person is even better, and just listen and see like what it is that they're dealing with, and, ask them questions that get that information to just kind of pour out, and then just be an amazing listener. And if you can take notes and go back and kind of use that to inform your offering.
I love what you're saying there. So often I find today people forget to pick up the phone, to have that one-on-one conversation. And even Skype, great. Matter of fact, I like Skype and I like Zoom, where you can see the other person and have a conversation. Yeah. We've become such a society of texting and email, and that doesn't replace the phone call where you can really connect with someone. So Spot on. For the last 16 years, I've been driven by the question of why some people achieve amazing results and others don't. The answer? 90% of their success came from their psychology. So if 90% of their success comes down to their psychology, what was the one thing that enabled them to produce the results that others were not? Their ability to execute, their ability to get things done. Now, we all know how to get things done, but some of us do it better than others. And some of us are not even coming close to tapping our potential. So if you're truly committed to tapping your potential and really becoming a peak performer and getting the results that you need, want, and desire, take your phone and text the word BE-Summit. That stands for Business Execution Summit. One word, BE-Summit, and text that to 41411. I'm going to send out some additional information on our upcoming event that will truly teach you the science of execution. Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe, After listening to several of his shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day. That concludes part 1 of our interview with Tracey Minutolo. Please stay tuned later this week for part 2.